So I found this dude online who like makes tie-dye death metal shirts. And I figured, I've got like 1,000 black t-shirts, might as well add a little color, right? So I picked one up from him, and it's like an early version of the Dick fillet image. So it's just like this dead baby and his tiny little dead baby penis next to like a tray with knives and scalpels and stuff. Anyway, I was wearing it one day, and I was hanging out with my mom, and she only saw the back of the shirt, and she was so happy. She's like, "Oh my goodness, you're finally wearing something with color, tie dye. I'm so happy." And then I turn around, and she immediately just like, "Ew, yuck, 2 thumbs down. I hate it." It is what it
Welcome
is.
to Daily Metal, where every day a different metal album gets dissected for your sadistic listening pleasure. I'm the heavy metal lawyer, Emma. And in this show, I'll talk about why the music in these albums is so good and where they fall in the history of music's production. Today, I have on a special guest, old friend, fellow music nerd, Guy Carmeli, to talk about Pornographic Seizures by the band whose name I can never pronounce, Sanguisugabog. Have you ever actually heard it said? I don't think I've ever actually heard it said.
I haven't, and whenever like if I wear a shirt with them or if I'm listening to something and somebody asks, it's always pronounced differently. Like I've heard like 4 or 5 different pronunciations. And I'm just like, oh, maybe it's that one.
So thanks for coming on, Guy.
Definitely.
The album came out July 26th, 2019. It's the band's first release. But unlike a lot of bands' first release, it was really well recorded. The recording is very good. The recording quality is very good. And the music is very well played, which seems to be kind of a thorough line around all the bands associated with this label, Maggot Stomp. Do you listen to any of these other bands put out by Maggot Stomp? It's like 200 Stab Wounds and
Yeah, I've heard a few of them. It seems to be mostly like Midwestern grind and death metal.
yeah.
There's some cool shit on there. I mean, yeah, 200 Stab Wounds is cool. There's I don't know. I mean, I gotta be honest. I've been listening to more metal lately than I have in the past couple of years, but I also still listen to a ton of other stuff, so I haven't been focusing on them. Um, just like finding albums that I like and kind of repeating those, playing those repeatedly.
Yeah. One thing I saw, and I was reading a lot of negative reviews of this album because they're really funny. A lot of people really do like this album.
Really?
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about it. But one of the reviews, and said this is a bad thing, which I thought was funny. They were like, this is just a bunch of washed up hardcore kids trying to get into death metal. And I was like,
Maybe, but like I like that.
so yeah, this album has possibly the most disparate reviews I've ever seen on a metal album ever. It's rare you see an album on Metal Archives that has both a 100% and a 0% rating in 2 different reviews.
Wow, a 0%
A
rating.
0%.
That's fucked up.
Why do you think there is such a divide on how this album is received?
I don't know, because honestly, like, I mean, no disrespect to them or anything, but I don't think they're like completely changing the game. You know what I mean? It's not like they've invented a new style of music or anything. They're just playing really heavy death metal down tune. Like, it's fucking awesome.
Well, that
Yeah.
actually seems to be the problem that some of the reviewers have with this. I think basically the thorough line I saw with all the bad reviews was like people who've long been fans of death metal and are mad that this band is getting so much hype and recognition for essentially doing what they think has already been done 100 times. Um, and why can't we just listen to good music and like that it's good? I don't understand why everything has to be innovative.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day about some bands like push music forward, do new things, change the genre. Some bands are just good bands, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? Like Cheap Trick, for example. I don't think Cheap Trick ever like innovated or like created a new style of music, but their songs are fucking hits through and through. Like those dudes are geniuses. They write great pop rock songs, like the Ramones did one innovation and then never changed again. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I was actually going to bring up the Ramones because the other criticism I saw of this band is that all their songs sound the same. And I'm like, you guys realize that's what all the normies say about death metal in general.
yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say like I don't know how deep these people are, but like if I give you like three B sides of a Cannibal Corpse, off of like a less positive, like less popular Cannibal Corpse album, you're not gonna be able to tell me the difference.
no,
Like,
no.
and like these dudes, I mean, I think the thing in heavy metal for a long time has been tuning down lower, right?
Ever since Children of the Grave, baby.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Like,
Well, let me read some snippets from these negative reviews because
okay,
I think they're really funny.
I love hearing people talk shit. So this is great.
Yeah, I know, me too. Quote, I cannot remember a memorable section or riff to save my life. Even with a gun to my head, the effort would be fruitless.
Okay, well, I mean, I can remember. I got one in my head right now, so it doesn't work for
Yeah,
me.
I did not relate to that one, but I like even with a gun to my head. Um, Here's another one. Quote, though 11 minutes in length, this demo feels like it lasts an eternity. Which I felt the opposite of. I mean, um, it's the one thing I don't like about the EP is that it's so short, and I felt like it could have been longer. I mean, there's always I think a balance with bands, especially when a band is first starting out, in terms of like how much effort are we going to put into each song, um, and you know they obviously put a lot of effort into each one of the 4 songs on the EP, but then there's only 4 songs on the EP.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it. I'd rather they do 4 songs well than like 6 songs where 3 of them suck.
Yeah, I mean, no one likes filler tracks, but I
I
think
mean, I don't even like not even filler tracks. Like I think oftentimes when you're a new band, you're like trying to figure out your sound, I mean, obviously not for these dudes, they've got it pretty much settled, but like you're trying to figure out, which tracks are stronger. I don't think they played in front of an audience because they started in like 2019 and then COVID hit. So like I keep seeing they're playing like with Gate Creeper on their tour. They're playing a bunch of shows up in like Ohio and Pennsylvania and stuff. But like I don't think they've played a ton of shows. They're still a relatively young band. So I get it. I think making some editorial decisions, cutting down the fat, like yeah, just showing people like this is the core of it.
well, and I think it's a really interesting thing too, because this EP dropped in 2019, and the band played, I think, for the first time ever in New York at the great St. Vitus in Brooklyn. Shout out to St. Vitus. in like on like March 5th, 2020.
Yeah, like
So
right.
they got him right before the pandemic started, with a New York show. But at the same time, it's like, I think in the normal trajectory of a band, at least in the way that I think it works nowadays in the metal scene, is like you put out a good first album, you tour, you put out a really good album, and then you tour again. And for this band, they did put out a good album and then toured and then put out a really good album. But then, of course, they couldn't tour because everything was shut down because of COVID.
Well, that might contribute to the hype, people that are like itching to get to shows and like, I'm assuming a lot of like recording studios were shut down too, even if people wore masks and stuff, like, we did a recording, one of the bands, we did a recording and the guy, like he had COVID, like the week before we got there, he was like, yeah, we shut down last week because I had COVID. I was like, well, fuck, okay, cool. So I think it's a couple of things, right? Like no live shows, so you're not getting exposed to like new bands because you're not getting to see the openers.
Right.
People aren't recording as much, so you're kind of stuck with like whatever came out right before the pandemic, you know? And yeah, there's a lot of hype online too. I think people like, I don't know, yeah, they really like this band for some reason, which I like them too, but like I don't know what it is specifically, that I feel like them and Gate Creeper have really like blown up over the past year or two.
Well, I definitely think with them, one of the things is, and I sort of see a kind of a parallel trajectory with like them and death metal and the band Gulch and the hardcore scene,
Sure.
like heavier beat down hardcore type scene, where they got in one tour right before the pandemic. So people shared a lot of their live videos online. I know we've talked about this, that like during the pandemic, when you can't go to fucking shows, the next best thing is to watch videos of shows
Yeah.
online. And that was, the most recent thing that happened. So people were watching a lot. It got popped up in the algorithm a lot. And then the other thing I think is like the band has such a distinct and interesting visual aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I think that, when bands aren't touring, when you can't go to shows, the sort of the visual component that you're seeing is the album covers, the t-shirts,
Yeah.
that sort of shit.
Yeah, I'll agree. I don't want to like harp on the Cannibal Corpse thing. I think Cannibal Corpse is a lot of like sexual violence
Mm-hmm.
in their imagery, and these guys are more like drug fueled imagery. I wouldn't say some of it's violent. Obviously the song titles and stuff are pretty violent, but like I think they're more almost like focused internally with the lyrics and stuff and like um but yeah, definitely that imagery, like gory, bloody, demonic, like all that shit. Pretty standard for death metal. I think they just added like mushrooms pretty much.
Well, I think the things that really stand out to me with the visual imagery is, number one, that it's so colorful compared to a lot of death metal. I mean, your sort of standard death metal album covers, I think of, something like, God, what's that fucking song? What's that fucking album? Death's last album. What's it called? Perseverance, something, something. The Sound of Perseverance. The Sound of Perseverance for me is like the typical death metal album cover. It's red and black.
Yeah.
Is the color scheme. Whereas, you know, Sanguisticus Booga their album covers and their art generally, also in like their posters and shit, it's like technical. I mean, it's like pastels and neons and all sorts of really interesting colors that you don't often see in the death metal scene. You know, I think it's particularly interesting with the EP. I don't know if you've seen this.
It's like bright yellow.
Well, that's actually the second version of it.
Oh,
The first version, it looks a lot more like a typical death metal.
oh, the red one with the demon.
The red one with the demon, you know,
Yeah.
red demon sword.
So like that little demon with the swords, right? Like that kind of shit is the image I'm talking about. Like there's a shirt they have with like a baby version of that demon, but mushrooms are growing out of it. It's pretty wild.
And well, the demon is interesting too, because I think another thing that really sort of defines their aesthetic is a sort of Lovecraftian type imagery. You know, these sort of monsters that seem to, yeah, kind of be, they're almost like at war with themselves. They're almost like, you know, they're mutating or biting each other. It's not entirely clear what's going on. There's blood in some of their mouths. I noticed that. But you know, it's like very surreal, very, you know, it's not like a demon, like a sort of typical depiction of Satan with the horns and everything. It's like fucking, yeah, as you said, it's very psychedelic, very yeah, tripped out.
Yeah, I remember reading an interview with the guitarist, I think, who writes most of the riffs. I think that they recorded like 90% of the album on acid.
Well, that seems to be another big gripe that some people have with them. If the band is not shy about their drug use.
Yeah, I mean, they call themselves like what, down-tuned drug death.
Yeah, they
It's cool.
they posted a video of themselves just smoking weed and listening to their own music, which apparently upset a lot of people. Which I think it's hilarious. I think that's,
Dude, why make music if it's not stuff you want to listen to? Unless you're Raffi or something and you're just like literally, you
making
know?
music for children.
Yeah, like if you're the Wiggles, I get like not listening to your own shit at home, you know? But
I mean, I think the same Grisagabog is kind of music for the children in its own way. You know,
I mean, honestly, like some kids are cool. They'll get it.
just be cool, kids. Just be cool and listen to death metal. Um, yeah, the lyrics for these are, I would say, pretty sort of pretty typical for the sort of gory porno grind sort of side of death metal. Just looking at the first track on the EP, Uningest. Here I come to piss out the waste from my filthy fucking nozzle. That's just good stuff right there.
Great for the kids.
The video for Menstrual Envy in particular, which is just a fucking great song title, great subject for death metal. It's something I've always sort of like thought is like, you know, why, like, you're literally talking about a way that humans just produce blood out of their bodies on a regular basis. How is that not the subject of more death metal?
I had an ex-girlfriend one time tell me this theory of hers that like men are violent because they want to see blood come out of other people, and that like a large part of like the male tendency to like hurt other people comes from menstrual envy, like because we can't bleed ourselves, so like we want to make other people bleed. I don't know if I buy it, but I've
I
heard
don't buy it at all, but I like it. I like it as an idea.
yeah.
It's the subject of a death metal song for sure.
Yeah, like it'd be a great video, you know what I mean? Like, but I think they're just pieces of shit. One of the things that I feel like talking about the internet hype, one of the
Yeah.
first things I saw about this band was somebody posted on Reddit, like a completely unrelated, not like a death metal or music subreddit, but I think on Facebook these guys had like put out, you know, like we just finished recording our album, you know, or whatever. And one of them, their grandma, had like written a comment like, "I'm so proud of you. Like, keep following your dreams." And it's just like it's so fucking sweet that these dudes are literally just like doing acid, smoking weed, writing songs about demons and death and blood. And the grandma's like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you." Like a little Ohio grandma just makes me so happy. Like,
That's amazing. Um,
yeah.
that's one thing about another thing about this band and their internet presence is I think they ran a meme page on Facebook, or
Really?
still run a meme page on Facebook.
No wonder they're famous. That's the way to do it nowadays.
It's called "I Make Memes While Listening to Sanguis Sugabog."
Okay.
It has more than 3,200 people follow it, so it's not
Wow.
not the most popular, but it's
I mean, that's enough to swing an election, you know?
for sure. I mean, and there's some great stuff on here too.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
it's just shit like that. It's pretty funny. Both the thing that pisses some people off about this band and the thing that I really like about the band is that it really doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
their whole shtick is kind of counter to taking themselves seriously. You can't do acid and death metal and take yourself very seriously.
Yeah.
And I talked about this too in the video I did on Autopsy Shit Fun, their poop theme album, which also pisses off a lot of death metal fans who are very serious about death metal. Don't want an
Death
album.
metal fans are just they're just angry about everything. Like, but like why? It's so funny. It's the music is inherently silly. Like, you know these dudes are not like in the woods slaughtering innocents. You know, like it's just four sweaty dudes in a booth, you know, farting in a van together, trying to get from Cincinnati to like Lubbock. It doesn't make any sense. Like why are you mad at these people?
Well, I think it's funny that you're talking about that theory of menstrual envy, because I do think there's kind of this very masculine insecurity in the metal scene, where like a lot of people, when they get into metal, they're like part of you know part of a minority, especially in a place like fucking Ohio. Um,
Yeah, sure.
and so the metal kind of serves as a way to give themselves a sense of like purpose, and
Community.
yeah, community. And I feel like that's kind of changing and has been changing in the past decade, as metal has become a lot more mainstream and popular. I mean, pretty much in every blockbuster action movie nowadays, there's some metal song
Yeah.
in the movie to be the anthem of the action. And for that reason, like the people who, who actually want to be, part of a counterculture, who want to be different, are sort of digging deeper and deeper into the more extreme subsets. And so I think Singri Sugabog, which is ironic because I don't think anyone would accuse them of making music that's accessible, or especially accessible to the mainstream or to normal people. They feel kind of threatened by it because it's like these people who aren't real death metal fans getting in on their territory that makes their safe space, their special
It's
safe
yeah,
space.
like your little like favorite band that was in your back pocket too big, or the genre that you thought nobody would ever hear about is now popping up. Yeah, I get that. I can understand. But like I mean, you have to have new members or else your cult dies. You know what I mean? Like it's so metalheads like you gotta get kids in. Like, I don't know. I was thinking about this, like with COVID and everything, how many kids are gonna go see their first hardcore show or see their first metal show, or like
Oh yeah.
I want to encourage that shit. Like that's how we keep the scene alive. Like I don't know. I mean, I feel like playing music for so long and going to so many shows, like sometimes I get jaded. I'm like, oh my god, another like 5 band bill. Like, oh Jesus, I'm gonna be here for 6 hours, not gonna be able to eat. Like, but at the same time, like people are pouring out their hearts. Like, yeah, maybe you can't go for 8 hours straight to watch these bands play, but like, I don't know. There's something about it. I remember being younger and like seeing the opening bands and getting more excited about them than the headliners because it was something new that I'd never heard before. Yeah, I want that to keep happening for other people.
Not every band is like St. Grease the Bog, where their first album is good, let alone great. They need
Yeah.
time to be able to fucking, work on that shit. And I worry that most young bands nowadays don't get that chance because they're just milked for hype and then thrown away.
Milk for Hype would be a good name for the next Sangri Sugabog album.
Milked for hype. It'll be like their industry baby. They can have naked people dancing in their music video too.
I'm down with that. That's fine. They should collab.
It would be a very different kind of little Sangrisabog featuring Lil Nas X.
I would be so happy.
Shit.
That would piss everybody off. Oh my god, the Christians who are upset about those Nikes are gonna like have a shit fit.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, if he really wants to lean into the flirting with Satanism thing, death metal is the next avenue.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Guy, for being my first guest. Hopefully, I'm going to be having more guests in the future, including the artist who actually put out the albums. I've been talking to a few bands about that. So,
fuck yeah.
Hopefully, more cool content coming in the future. 5 people who watch my videos. So yeah, if you like the video, please subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments about Sangui Sugabog, especially if you're one of these death metal nerds that we've been making fun of. Please let us know how much you hate us. And follow for more videos about the metal album that came out that day, why it's so brutal, and where it fits in the history of the genre.